All right, hello everybody. Welcome to my lecture. Today we're going to talk about acids and bases. And the reason this is necessary and important is it turns out in chemical reactions, when the chemistry of life is going on, it's done in solutions. It's mixed around with proteins and water, and so cells are sort of bathed in these different chemical solutions. And the behavior of the chemistry, if you will, is based on several things. And one of the important things is how acidic or how basic the solution is that the proteins are surrounded by. For example, in the blood, for example, is a different type of acidity than you would find in, say, your stomach. And the proteins that are there work differently because of the acidity or the basic nature of the chemistry. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to start by talking about something you're probably very familiar with, and that is pure water. And pure water, if we talk about pure water is at a pH, and we represent it with a lowercase p, capital H, a pH of about 7, and that's neutral. So I'll show you that in the scale in a second. And then we have two sort of types of chemicals. This is a specific type here, HCl. There's also NaOH, as you see here. These are examples of both what we call an acid and a base. And it's an example, so they're not all this particular way. But something that is an acid will tend to increase the amount or number of hydrogen ions you have in a solution, whereas something that is a base will tend to increase the amount of hydroxide ions or hydroxide groups floating around loose there like that you have in a solution. And they tend to neutralize each other. And surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, when you mix an acid with a base, the reason they neutralize each other is what they tend to do is they tend to form water, because you have, as you see here, the hydrogen plus the hydroxide. Those two bond together. There's an H plus there. There's an OH negative. They will bond together and form water. So that is a neutral case in which you have, say, a pH of 7. In this picture here, you can see this is the pH scale, and it is a what we call an inverse. It is an inverse. Whoops, excuse me. I tend to do that, as you probably know maybe by now. But it is what we call an inverse logarithmic scale. Logarithmic scale. So what happens is, I didn't mean to write it on that picture, but that's okay. If you look right here, you'll notice we have pH 7 here. Okay, that's neutral. As you move down in pH, so low pH of, say, 2 means high amounts of hydrogen ions. Okay, it means it's very acidic. So something that's low in pH that's acidic, such again as lemon juice, low pH 2 means high amounts of hydrogen ions. Something that is basic, say household bleach or oven cleaner or lye, the pH of those tends to be very high, 13, 14. Those are what we call very basic, or you'll see also the term alkaline. And those have a high pH and low amounts of hydrogen ions. Okay? So you should familiarize yourself with this chart here and understand essentially like what a pH 7 is, which is neutral. That would be like water. You notice you have human blood here being a little bit on the basic side. And it gets much more concentrated as you move this way in terms of hydrogen ions as the pH goes down, and as you go this way it becomes much more basic. Both ends of the scale tend to be pretty harsh on life. So a low pH, as you know, this is very damaging to the skin and so forth, but also so is a strong base. Both of these are not necessarily good. Okay, and that concludes our lecture on acids and bases.